Great. So I think we can now begin the session.
Yeah.
So again, first and foremost, I would like to welcome you all for attending the talk today on career motivation. I understand and appreciate that it's a very busy time, very stressful time for most of you as you prepare for some important examinations coming up. So with that, thank you for joining today. I hope I don't bore you guys to death. One thing I know for sure is that the iQuanta guys who are here with me today are not bored at all, as they seem to be having a great time. So my name is Mutsa Muswere. I am an Assistant Vice President in the Investment Banking Operations Department at Deutsche Banking Group. And prior to that, I was at Lloyd's Banking Group, where I held various roles in different departments in London, India, and also in the Philippines. So if there are any kind of key messages or themes that I would like for you guys to take away today through my story that I'm going to convey to you guys, the first one will be how to recognize and grasp opportunity. The second one will be how to overcome obstacles in your personal and professional life. And the third one will be the importance of transferable skills in your career. So to give you guys a bit more background about myself, I was born in Zimbabwe. I come from very humble beginnings. And for those of you who are probably wondering where Zimbabwe is, I'll try to help you out a little bit. Every time I mention that I'm from Zimbabwe here, the first thing I get is Henry Olonga, Hit Streak, Grand Flower, which are obvious references to cricket and the legendary matches that India played against Zimbabwe a couple of years back. So after I completed my primary school in Zimbabwe, I also did the first year of my secondary school in Zimbabwe, post which when I was 14 years old, I moved from Zimbabwe to the United Kingdom with my parents, which was a very interesting and yet challenging time for me. So as you can imagine, I had to adapt to quite a lot of things, new surroundings, new environments, new food, new climate, and of course having to make a new set of friends since all the friends that I'd known previously had all been left behind in Zimbabwe. Now one experience that sticks with me to this day from when I joined the school in the UK was that I was only one of two Africans who were in the school at the time, and to make that even better, I was the only African who was actually in my classroom. So you can imagine the daunting prospect when I walked in there and saw everybody who looked different to me, with a whole different curriculum, most of which I had to adapt to. Now, one of the guys who I was sat next to when I joined this classroom, I believe it was a mathematics lesson. So he kind of, looked at me, we were doing basic algebra or equations, and he was kind of looking over my shoulder, and I realized that he probably needs a little bit of help. So I kind of looked to my right and started kind of working through some of these equations with him. And after this, the person on my left also kind of started asking me, how do you solve this? How do we get through this equation here? What's the formula? So when it got to lunchtime, these were the two new friends that I'd made in this lesson. So of course, as I was new in the school, they were keen to know a bit about me and also a bit about Zimbabwe. So I'll never forget one of the questions that they asked me. So they asked me, they said, oh, Mutsa, so how was Zimbabwe? How was it different to what you've been through now? And the question they asked me was, so did you guys have school in Zimbabwe? And I looked at him and I thought, hang on, I've just helped you with your equations in the lesson when we met previously, and now you're asking me if we had school in Zimbabwe. Well, as you can imagine, my response was I looked at him and I said, you know what, actually, no, we never had schools. This is my first school and I'm very, very happy to be here, joining you guys, and seeing what books look like. Nevertheless, I managed to get through my secondary education in the United Kingdom, post which I managed to get a place in the University of Durham, where I studied for and attained a degree in my bachelor's degree in finance and accounting. Now, one kind of experience again that sticks with me whilst I was on campus was, of course, I was a minority when we were on campus. Although there were students from all over the world, including India also, I was still a minority. And with this, there was one society, I think, same system as India also, where you have clubs and societies in university. We had a society on my campus which was called the African Caribbean Society. The funny thing was this was only about 8 people out of thousands of people on campus. So I decided, okay, what can we do here to do something which is a bit more impactful, and get more people involved in the broader work that we're doing. So whilst doing this, I decided I would come up to form, a wider group, which I called the Durham University Commonwealth Society. And the aim of forming the Commonwealth Society was to be able to get more people from different backgrounds under one common umbrella where we can do kind of peer-to-peer studying, where we can exchange ideas, talk about different cultures, debate on different topics, etc., etc. But whilst doing this, what I didn't realize was I was actually, allowing myself to build a lot of transferable skills such as leadership, such as communication, such as teamwork, such as handling conflicts or managing teams, as well as getting my bachelor's degree at university. As I approached my third year of university, as you can imagine, in your final year, any student is faced with the daunting prospect of what do I do next from here? Where do we go? So for me, as I was doing finance and accounting, it was a natural progression to want to go into a banking career. So I sent out many applications to different various banks, some of which I was rejected, at the very inception of the application process, some of which I got, to probably the latter stages of the application process, where I thought I'd done everything possible in my power to obtain this, but nevertheless still didn't get a position in the bank. Then I managed to come across one program which was being offered by Lloyds Banking Group. So this program was called the Future Leaders Graduate Program, and it was a 2-year program whereby graduates come in. I think they have about 20,000 applicants that apply for this in a year, and out of that they'll take in about 100 to 150 students each year. So you can imagine again the stiff competition and challenge that we're facing to be able to get a place in this program. Nevertheless, I managed to get through the application process, and as I got to the assessment center and we were in the waiting room meeting the other applicants who'd also applied to be part of the scheme, I quickly realized that I was the least qualified guy in the room, because most of the people who were applying to join Lloyds Banking Group here, I think out of about 15 of us, about 10 people had just completed their MBAs. Another 2 or 3 were already working professional somewhere else and looking to change their career to Lloyds Banking Group. And another person had actually flown into the country on that morning to be able to obtain the same position that I was also trying to go for. So I was a little bit demotivated, kind of assessing the competition around me straight away. But I said to myself immediately, listen, if I'm good enough to have made it to this particular point in my career and to be here, sitting with these people here, then of course I should be good enough to be able to obtain a position with Lloyds Banking Group if I do well in the assessment center. One of the exercises that we had to do in the assessment center was that we were given a portfolio, of products that the bank were looking to invest in. So we get the portfolio handed over to you, and you have to take it away in another room, and you spend an hour of your time, preparing and looking through the different information that the bank have given you. And then post this, you're then invited to come in front of the senior leaders of the bank and do a presentation on which product you choose, and also provide the rationale of why you've chosen that particular product. So, okay, after the assessment center, we managed to go back. They tell you, okay, we'll get back in touch with you. 3 days or so later, I got a phone call. I remember it very clearly. So I answered the phone call, said, hello Mutsa, this is XYZ from Lloyds Banking Group. Congratulations, we would like to offer you a position. So I stopped. I said, are you sure? This is Mutsa's number you've dialed here. Is it me you want to offer a position? And the guy was like, absolutely, yes, this is you. We didn't call you by mistake. And I was, obviously in the joy that I was in the moment, I was also quite keen to understand, what I had done well in the assessment center for me to be able to be given the position, since I seemed to be the least qualified guy in the room based on solely qualifications. And then what the director said to me at the time was that, you see, when you did your presentation in the portfolio exercise, the product that you chose is probably not the one that we're looking for. However, the rationale that you gave and the fact that you were able to stand by your answer through all the questioning, and back and forth that they'll be doing with you, is what showed us that you had the skills that we're looking for, as coupled with your qualifications, and we can also then train you to be able to do well in this particular bank. So I thought, great, okay, now I'll join this fantastic 2-year program in Lloyds Banking Group. We get 4 rotations, which are all 6 months each in different areas of the bank. And my plan at the time was, okay, I'll do this, and then I'll go off and do an MBA. And then after I do my MBA, then at that point I really know what I want to do in my life, and I can decide which career path to choose. But again, as unpredictable as life is, as I was approaching the end of the graduate program, the end of my 2 years, I got a phone call, from one of the guys in the talent department. And they said to me, Mutsa, we have a very interesting position. We think you've done quite well so far with the bank. We're a position for you, but this is going to be offshore. You can expand your skill sets. Would you like to go? I said, offshore, where would this be? And then the lady said, oh, it will be in Bangalore, India. I said, oh, fantastic, great. Yes, I'll go, I'll sign up. I can go to Bangalore, India. But the honest truth is, as soon as I hung up the phone, I went straight onto Google, and I had to type Bangalore and search where Bangalore was, because I didn't really know where Bangalore was. I'd heard of India, I knew Delhi, I knew Mumbai, but I never knew where Bangalore was. But I was excited by the prospect, of coming to experience a different culture, different environment, as I'd been through a similar experience already when I initially moved to the UK and managed to adapt and get by it. So before you know it, I landed in India and I started working here. And post my first 6 months here, I was supposed to return back to London, after which they offered to extend my role. But the only condition is that I had to move to the Philippines from here. So for those of you, it was then advertised that, okay, to the guys in the Philippines, you're getting a new manager who's coming in to work with you guys from London. And for those of you who haven't kind of noticed already, I'm Black African. So you can imagine, the look on the face of these guys when I walked in the room in the Philippines, because I was kind of not fitting the profile of what they were looking for. So I thought, okay, I've got about 20 people in the room here who are going to be my direct reports. What am I going to do to get these guys on my side? So quickly I came up with a little icebreaker whereby I said, okay, I'll go around the whole table. So if you can just tell me your name and one thing that is unique about you. So the point of this exercise was not just for me to hear their names and to hear what's unique about them, but I was doing this so that I could use their unique point about them to remember each and every one of their names. Because at the end of the round table of 20 people, I then said, okay, thank you very much. And I managed to remember every single one of their names along the table, which is, you can see the mood change in the room immediately. So I could see that I'd managed to get these guys on my side, and this team will be able to deliver for me. And I, from that, I then had a great experience in the Philippines. Again, learned a different culture, learned new different experiences. After which I was then again asked if I was interested in moving back to India. But because I'd only done 6 months in India in my first stint, I felt there was more in India that I could explore. So I agreed and managed to come back to India with Lloyds Banking Group. And after another brief stint with Lloyds Banking Group here, I managed to change into Deutsche Bank, where I'm currently working at the moment. Now, with that being said, I think one of the main questions that you're all probably thinking of, or you have in your head, is that, why am I doing this talk with you guys this evening? I'll say one thing to you guys. So we all face different struggles, in our life. And in fact, in Zimbabwe, we have a saying which I'll try to roughly translate to English. What it says is that, if your neighbor comes to you and says, what, let me take your problems and take my problems. You can take your neighbor's problems, but within a day, you could probably be assured that you'll be knocking on your neighbor's door saying, what, give me my problems and my struggles back. I think mine are slightly better than yours. Okay, so now one of my main heroes, inspirations who went through a struggle in his life was a man called Nelson Mandela. So many of you might know Nelson Mandela, as the first Black African president of South Africa, but you may not know some of the struggles that he went through. Nelson Mandela lived through oppression, and also with that he was imprisoned for 27 years. But whilst he went through all this thing, when he came out of prison, one of the main quotes that he said, if I may quote him this evening, was that education is the most powerful weapon that we can use to make a difference in the world that we live in here. And I strongly believe in that, because education is the first step to gaining the knowledge, the critical thinking, the skills, and the ability to be able to influence and make a positive impact in the world that we live in. So when I look at the work that Indrajit and the guys at iQuanta are doing, in raising aspirations for CAT aspirants, soon to be GMAT also, and of course the fantastic initiative that they're doing in offering free classes to those preparing for government exams, I can see immediately that we have a shared common value there of wanting to give back to the community. So when they asked me to come and talk to you guys today, I gladly agreed, because I feel that through conveying my message and my story, if I'm able to inspire even one single person here, that will be good enough for me. So what I will leave you guys with today, is a couple of things that I will leave you guys with the conclusion. So the first thing I'll say to you guys is, as you prepare for your MBA examinations, I know it's a very stressful time. I know you want to obtain your qualifications or so, but qualifications alone are not enough to get you, into the job that you desire if you're a very ambitious person. You need to have the right balance of qualifications as well as transferable skills which make you attractive to potential employers. So one question I'll ask you guys this evening is that, and you don't need to answer me this question today, it's something you need to take away and reflect on and answer honestly amongst yourselves. If you manage to get your good CAT score or GMAT score and do an MBA, once you do an MBA, there's going to be, let's say, 100 of you in your MBA batch. Out of the 100 of you, you're probably going to be going for a few positions or a few jobs that you're applying for. The question is, if you were put in front of your class, you and your batchmate, and the question is asked, which one of these two would you hire? You both have your MBA degree, but what other skills are you going to bring to the table that are going to make you appealing to employers? If you can answer that question honestly and say, you know what, they would hire my friend, they wouldn't hire me. And what you need to ask yourself is, what is it that I'm lacking, that I need to work on, for me to be able to be, saying yes, actually they would hire me because I've got my qualification and I've also got the transferable skills that are valuable to any potential employer that's coming in. And I'm sure, most of you guys are studying, which means you're very ambitious. I know there's a lot of talented people here today watching. Some of you guys are going to go on and do fantastic things in your life. I'm talking to future leaders here. So as future leaders, one of the key transferable skills that I ask you again to really focus on is your leadership skills. So the same question I asked you about your employability, if again you were put in front of your classroom with your batchmate and the question is asked simply to the rest of your batch, out of these two people here, which one would you pick to be your leader? Which one would you choose to be your manager? If you can answer that question by saying they'll choose the next person, then again you have some work to do. If you can honestly answer and say, you know what, yes, they would they'll choose me as their manager, then fantastic, good for you. Keep working on your skills and make sure that you balance these with your qualifications also. I think with that, I'll thank you guys so far for listening to me. I've been talking quite a lot, but I'll pause a little bit just to ask some questions, whether it's here with the guys or questions coming in online.
Mr. Mutsa, can you tell us about what has been your craziest experience in India? I know you have lived in a lot many countries, but what about India?
Craziest experience?
Yeah.
Elaborate on that. In what way? Something that I can
surprise
share?
Us. You can.
Sir? What would be my craziest? I mean, apart from meeting you guys, having to spend this evening with you guys, I think the craziest thing I've probably experienced is the traffic. So when I first got here, I couldn't believe the road system. I thought every time we were hitting a junction, that's the end. But somehow I realized, what? It actually works somehow. And in fact, I do drive here now, as you guys know, which means, but yeah, that was quite difficult for me to adapt to and get used to.
What's your experience in working in the banking sector?
So the banking sector is very interesting. The work is very challenging. I won't lie to you guys, it's very demanding. You have to put in a lot of hours, but it's also very rewarding in terms of, the network that you get to make. Your work kind of, makes a difference. For example, if you close a deal for a client who is looking to set up a project, etc., the feeling that you get, the reward from your work that you do is what, is what really brings it to life for me.
At what point did you think that you will be interested in finance?
So to be honest, I never did, and and I still don't kind of think that way, because as I was studying finance, the reason why I chose to study finance and accounting around 2008 was this was kind of in the height of the financial crisis, the global financial crisis. So there was a lot of coverage around that at the time, which kind of piqued my interest. But then so naturally I went into accounting and finance, and the natural career that I saw me progressing into post my finance degree was going into finance and banking.
This is pretty interesting. To become a manager, does one need to be manipulative? How can I tackle pressure?
I wouldn't use the word manipulative. I mean, I wouldn't use manipulative to be a manager, but to be a manager, I think you need to listen carefully to everything that's around you, to listen to hear. Not just to listen, but you have to be able to communicate to different types of people, and you have to be able to influence people also. Not manipulative, but I would say influencing.
Networking or technical skill, which is valued in IB?
It depends. IB is so vast. If you're going into a very technical role, then you're probably looking to be very technical. But if you're going into probably a relationship management role, you probably need some technical skills also. But your networking skills also have to be up to par.
Who is your favorite cricketer?
From India or around?
Anyway.
I would say, I've played a lot of sports, and I've also watched a lot of sports. But if I have to go with cricket, I'll probably pick Brian Lara.
All right. So with the cricket question, I think it's high time that sir should get into the frame, and we'll keep asking questions. I think you guys should do this. Sir, please.
You can ask questions that is as well.
Please come on.
We'll go one by one.
All right. So, how do you overcome procrastination?
You don't, actually. That's the thing. Procrastination is something that's very difficult, but you have to be very focused. You need to understand, your goal. You need to be able to be, someone who's good at timekeeping, organization, and management. but also you have to be a self-starter, because when you procrastinate a lot, no one is going to come in, especially if you're working in an investment bank or in a bank. No one is. Sometimes you have to just use your own initiative. So if you procrastinate and your work is not done, then you bear the consequences for that also.
With 1 month to go, how you should prepare for CAT?
Follow CAT preparation iQuanta, follow RC60 by Indra, as well as follow iQuanta 250 series, and apart from that, just follow all the classes by Indra, as well as Yogesh, as well as practice sessions by Janam Shah, as well as Akash. So if you have any questions, any specific question, you can just put it in the comment below, and we will be resolving it here itself.
Alright, finally we get to see G Singh. I think that deserves a round of clap. G Singh, thank you for, and Mutsa, thank you for coming live.
And of course,
And Yogesh Joshi.
and of course, Janam Shah.
Please come.
Please come on, please. Come on, guys.
So,
Everyone can go.
this is very specific to, I guess, Mutsa.
Yeah.
What's your advice on doing CFA alongside with MBA?
My advice is very difficult. It's going to take a lot of your time, but it's very valuable also. But as I mentioned, right, make sure you get a balance. If you're able to do the CFA, able to invest the time required to do it, then I highly recommend you get it done, because it will come in handy when you apply for certain positions. But make sure you maintain that balance of qualifications and transferable skills.
Alright, so we get back to the same question. Foreign or India, which has a big market in terms of salary? What's wrong with these Indians?
This was the first dialogue that
Yeah, I guess
You can
that
explain
depends. That depends. That is actually the first question when this iQuanta guys first met me. I would say it's India. I'm still here, right? So it can't be that bad.
Alright. We have more questions. Just give us a minute. You guys want some water? Yeah. So good to see you guys alive and live as well. Alright.
So we have Akash Pandey here.
Hi guys.
He's the verbal faculty at iQuanta, as well as
I'm just asking the questions here, so I'm trying to become the host here. But anyways, which provide better exit opportunity for moving into private equity, IB or management consulting from MBA?
Again, I can't. It depends. It depends on your experiences in IB or in management consultancy also. But also with most PE firms, networking is also recommended.
Okay. Biggest myth about investment banking?
That it's all fun and games. In fact, when I joined investment banking, they say it's all about money. But I would break that and say it's a lot of work. Reward is there, but it's not as much as they kind of make it out to be.
All right. Yogesh sir, you take this. Preparing for CAT 21. What to do additionally before MBA?
Additionally, before MBA, you should work mostly on your profile and preparing for CAT 2021, right? Yeah, you should start right now, and like by the time you prepare, you join a coaching or something, you should have your basics clear, right? That's it.
So Jyoti asked this question. आप लोग बता सकते हैं कि क्या रूटीन रहता है everyday life? We are not sure. इनके लिए कि for us, she basically wants to ask a daily routine. So it's quite different for both of us.
But you just want to come live every day.
no,
Not
like
that. But anyways, all right.
So someone is asking, if you had a chance, what changes you would bring to increase Indian economy?
To increase Indian economy, I
Yeah.
probably shouldn't touch on that question. That is not in my remit.
You don't want.
I think I'll hand that question to these guys here.
All right. Sir, Yogesh sir, can you please take this one? How to increase Indian economy? काम करो, पढ़ाई करो.
IAS बनो.
But I would say this about the Indian economy. I would say, to increase the economy again, education is key. Education is the most powerful thing, most powerful tool that we can use to change the world. So if everybody gets the opportunity to get, good education, then I think the economy will change itself also.
तो सबसे रामबाण और सिंपल इलाज होता है इकोनॉमी अच्छा करने का. सब लोग अच्छे से पढ़ाई करेंगे, अगर सब लोग की अगर क्वालिटी एजुकेशन है और अच्छे पोजीशन पे वो लोग पहुंच गए जहाँ पे पहुंचना चाहते हैं, है ना, तो अपने आप सबकी सैलरी बढ़ेगी, टैक्स से ज़्यादा मिलेंगे गवर्नमेंट को, ज़्यादा मिलेंगे तो इकोनॉमी बढ़ेगा. वेरी सिंपल फॉर्मूला. तो अच्छे से पढ़ाई करिए, iQuanta में एनरोल कर सकते हैं साथ में.
Robin Hood Chobe, are you a Modi supporter? Are you? You better say yes. I'm going to skin you
Again,
alive.
I can't answer that question.
Yogesh Joshi, are you?
Of course, I'm a
Hardcore Modi. All right, fine. I'm not.
He is, by the way.
Best book you have ever read?
Tell to Win. It's by a guy called Peter Gruber, and I highly recommend it. It is called Tell to Win.
All right. Getting into IB. what major knowledge is required apart from MBA in finance?
I got in without an MBA in finance,
That's
as I've
pretty
just kind of
interesting story
explained
to
to you guys. I hope you were here when I kind of gave that story. So what is it? What's
Basic question, getting into IB, what do you actually need to get into the IB?
I mean, of course, you need good qualifications to get into IB, number one. And as I say, you need also transferable skills, things like, problem solving, analytical skills, critical thinking, communication, leadership, management, strategy, etc., etc. So you also, whilst you're studying, if you're studying, that is, and still on campus, make sure you utilize your time well, not just by going to all your classes every day. Do other things also on campus. Subconsciously, you're building up a whole set of skills which are going to be making you more attractive to employers when it's time to get a job, and particularly in IB also.
All right. So Jyoti basically wants to know your daily schedule. So like, what do you do?
My
the
daily
entire
schedule
day?
for
Wake
a work
up.
perspective, or
No, like every day.
every day.
Every day, yeah.
So Jyoti its schedule slightly changed at the moment since we all work from home due to the current situation. But my daily schedule at the moment is I wake up in the morning. I'm usually in the gym, sometimes joined by this guy if I can wake him up to come in.
My gym partner as well.
And after I go back into the gym, I'll probably look at some emails from the previous day or from the evening that I've not missed out. And then I'll probably get onto a few meetings. These days, they're all via Zoom. And that's pretty much that, really. Throughout the whole day, lunch, more work, and then all the way into the evening.
All right. Yogesh has been quite for a long time now. So how to work towards building skills if you are weak in one specific section and comfortable with the other two? आप पहले डे का बताओ.
LRDI का तो basically see you have to start with the basics. Where on a daily basis you have to keep solving sets. That's it. I recommend practice to everyone. That's what I did, and that's what everyone does. All the 100% unless you can go. There are a lot of tips that have been provided by all the top scorers on our iQuanta website. So,
See guys, the most important part when you talk about LRDI is the familiarity of the sets. So when you are familiar with the majority of the sets, there are not a lot of sets possible, right? They will just change the name, they will just change few of the conditions. But major there are max to max 500 to 600 type of sets, and if you are able to solve even 300 to 400 type of sets, you are familiar with most of the sets, and I think you are able to crack 3 or 4 sets out of 5. You are going to crack LRDI with 99% time. So just do that. Solve around 4 to 5 LRDI sets per day. Apart from that, you can take a sectional LRDI sectional, and apart from that, of course, quant as well as BRC as well. Just not focus on one. Balance is important.
All right, Mr. Mutsa, your take on work-life balance and time management.
It's a very interesting question actually, and I'm very honest. When I worked in London initially, my work-life balance was quite good, I would say, because my weekends were for me. I had to do Monday to Friday. Of course, the hours were quite long, but one of the things that I've experienced whilst working here and sometimes in the Philippines also is that it's quite difficult. The expectation is that if work is there, it has to be done, regardless whether it's Saturday or Sunday. And if anything that I would think probably needs a bit more work around here is probably improving work-life balance. But in terms of your time management, if you kind of plan your week in advance and make sure you set yourself, make sure you kind of cut out time for yourself. Even though you've got your studying to do, you've got all these things happening, sometimes turn your phone off, put your phone down for a certain amount of time, and just kind of give that time to yourself to do what you enjoy doing also, and what you like, whether that may be spending time with your family, that may be some hobbies that you enjoy. So personally, I play football. I played football for so many years. I'm on the football pitch, I forget everything about work, and it's just what's happening on the pitch, and then we face that again later. But it's very difficult to be able to get that balance every time.
You also have a store.
Yeah, of course. And then I have these guys also sometimes who keep me busy also.
All right. जी सर, लास्ट महीने की QA स्ट्रेटजी बताओ.
तो लास्ट मंथ की क्वांट की स्ट्रेटजी एक्चुअली डिपेंड्स आपने कब स्टार्ट किया था प्रिपरेशन. Was it 6 months back, 1 year back, or 1 month back when you're starting right now? तो देखिए 2 से 3 चीज़ें हैं. आप सबसे पहले तो अभी जैसे ऑफकोर्स पैटर्न चेंज हो गया है. वी डू नॉट नो कि किसका वेटेज ज़्यादा रहेगा, किसका कम रहेगा, बट ऑफकोर्स एक पैटर्न जो सेट रहा है अभी तक, वी कैन फॉलो लाइक अरिथमेटिक, अलजेब्रा एंड ज्योमेट्री. ये तीनों की आप डेली 40 से 50 क्वेश्चंस प्रैक्टिस करिए, एंड दैट्स इनफ. अपार्ट फ्रॉम ऑफकोर्स टेकिंग मॉक्स एज वेल एज सेक्शनल्स, दिन में 40 से 50 क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करिए इन 3 टॉपिक के. कैसे नहीं होगा, बताइएगा मेरे को 1 महीने के बाद। तो आप ये फॉलो करिए, बहुत ही सिंपल फॉर्मूला है, अभी से स्टार्ट कर सकते हैं आप।
All right. So this is going to be last question. When you are in tremendous pressure and you are having a bad time, how do you manage your stress and overcome the stress?
Yeah, I mean, work is very stressful, you know, especially as I said to you guys in investment banking, it does get quite stressful. But I think, you know, say, just take a step away. So if I'm in a particular situation where I feel, okay, this is really causing me a lot of stress, this is putting me under a bit of pressure, what I tend to do is I just take a step back for a second. If it means I just go away, have a coffee, close my laptop for a while, just think things through. It may be a conflict with a colleague, it may be, you know, a disagreement, or it may be something that's quite heated that's going on in between, all in good spirit, obviously. But the best thing that I do is I just kind of take a step back and make sure that I clear my thoughts before I take any actions or before I say anything that may be detrimental to somebody else or may put somebody down.
All right. Okay, fine. I said this was the last question, but what is your favorite football team? The nation wants to know.
I'm a big Arsenal fan, and with that, I'm still buzzing off the win against Man United on the weekend, which was our first win at Old Trafford in over 14 years. So sorry to any Man United fans out there, but yes, I'm a big Arsenal fan, and yes, I did watch the game on the weekend.
Messi or Ronaldo?
Both.
Diplomatic.
Both, yeah. Because none of them are in my team, see, so I can't.
So guys, he's a manager, he's being diplomatic.
All right. Thank you so much, Mutsa, for being here.
Yeah.
We can have the entire team here. We can.
Just
Yeah.
few Hindi sentences.
Yeah, please
Anything
do that.
that you know in Hindi.
To be honest, I
Everything.
don't know much. I only know Acha. I know TK, but if I use them in a sentence in English, you would be surprised. You'd think I actually know how to speak the language. But that's all that I know. So that's all I'll say on that.
You know chai.
And chai. Now I know
Yeah.
chai also.
also.
You know, thanks to these guys
We also
here.
know a few other things.
So yeah, I mean, thank you very much, guys, again for your time, for listening. As I said, I know you guys are under a lot of stress, under a lot of pressure, preparing for your exams. Don't let everything get to you. Make sure you give yourself some time to reflect on things, and make sure that you also understand that qualifications alone may not get you to where you want to be. Make sure that you're living a balanced lifestyle with the qualifications and also gaining transferable skills along the way. Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks a lot, Mutsa, for coming here. It was a pleasure.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. You can have some water.
Thank you
some
very
beer
much.
if you
Have the
want to.
food and have the beer.
Thank you.
We can have Janam sir and Yogesh sir.
Janam sir and Yogesh sir, as well as our sales expert guys.
let's
Bring
bring
the
our whole
iQuanta whole team here. Not the whole team, few people are still missing.
Who will speak?
So,
I guess maybe voice like that. Mic.
hello.
Are you audible? Yeah.
तो बच्चों, आसिफ इधर है यार. अरे पीछे आ जाना.
Everyone should come. Are you audible now? Yeah. He's not.
So basically what we want to say कि हम लोग खुद सुबह 8 बजे उठते हैं और हम लोग रात को 12:30-1 बजे तक वर्क करते हैं, आपके क्लासेस चलते हैं और मे बी हमें बीच में ऐसा मैसेज आता है कि सर हमसे नहीं हो पा रहा, दिन भर सेशंस चलते हैं, फिर भी कई बार लगता है आकाश वी शुड कम एज वेल, लाइक वी पीपल आर वर्किंग होल डे और नाइट को भी मतलब 1 बजे 2 बजे तक काम करते हैं, तो यू शुड नॉट कंप्लेन इस टाइम पे कि सर नहीं हो पा रहा 1 महीना है, वी शुड मतलब हम लोग होप छोड़ दे रहे हैं, वो चीज़ नहीं होनी चाहिए एटलीस्ट इस टाइम पे. तो बेसिकली इंद्रजीत सर को ज़्यादा इस चीज़ में एक्सपीरियंस है कि बच्चे को मोटिवेट करने में. से समथिंग
अब मैं क्या बोल रहा देखो, सब लोग का उतना क्या बोलते हैं कैपेसिटी लगभग सबका सेम होता है, बट एक होता है मेंटल कैपेसिटी, वहाँ पे थोड़ा सा डिफरेंस आता है. अंदर की एबिलिटी लगभग सब में सेम होती है. कहाँ पे किसी बंदे को टूटना है, कहाँ पे नहीं टूटना है, वो सबको नहीं पता होता है. और वो सोचता है कि यार यहीं तक मेरा था सफ़र, इसके आगे शायद कुछ मेहनत करने का कुछ फायदा नहीं होगा. बट वहीं पे कुछ लोग होते हैं जो सोचते हैं कि नहीं ये मेरा हो ही नहीं सकता है, इसके आगे मैं और भी मेहनत करके और भी आगे जितना भी हो जाए, मैं कुछ भी हो जाए, मैं रिजल्ट का वेट नहीं करूँगा अभी. तो आप बेसिकली पॉइंट यही है कि मेंटल स्ट्रेंथ आपका कैसा है, पूरा सारा का सारा उस पर डिपेंड करता है. ठीक है ना. तो कुछ भी हो जाए, ये 1 मंथ है, लास्ट लैप है, अच्छे से प्रैक्टिस करिए. दिन भर जितना ताबड़ तोड़ा प्रैक्टिस कर सकते हैं उतना करते रहे. जितना डाउट पूछना है हमारे कैपिटल iQuanta ग्रुप या फिर क्रैश कोर्स वाले ग्रुप में आप पोस्ट कर सकते हैं. एंड वी आर हियर टू क्लियर ऑल योर डाउट्स, है ना. कभी कभी थोड़ा लेट हो जाता है बट हम 100% डाउट सॉल्व करते हैं.
बाकी आपके पास आप लोग के पास नंबर्स है हमारे, whenever you feel low just give us a call.
Everyone can call us. All know that. We get around 20-30 calls a day. Yeah, everyone does.
8 नहीं निकला भाई.
ज़्यादा खा लिया था.
ओके, सो बेसिकली पॉइंट ये है कि चलिए ठीक है, अभी से जितना भी हो सकता है हम लोग स्टार्ट करेंगे. कल से डेली मैं भी 250 सीरीज में iQuanta 250 सीरीज में डेली 10 क्वेश्चन एटलीस्ट ट्राई करूंगा पोस्ट करने का. 1 से 2 आरसी क्वेश्चन पोस्ट करूंगा, ट्राई करूंगा. तो आप लोग भी ट्राई कर ही सकते हैं. अगर मैं इतना पोस्ट कर सकता हूं तो आप लोग सारा ट्राई कर ही सकते हैं. एटलीस्ट आपको एटलीस्ट इसका 5 टाइम्स प्रैक्टिस करना चाहिए जितना मैं पोस्ट करता हूं, ठीक है ना. तो बस यही है, बस यही होना चाहता हूं कि लास्ट में
Don't give up in this particular. ये टाइम पे मत गिव अप करो. After that you can come here. We can have a party. We all can have a party.
बेसिकली हम लोग हर साल एक मीट रखते हैं जहाँ पे अप्रॉक्स 150-200 लोग एटलीस्ट आते हैं और हम लोग मस्त चिल आउट करते हैं, पार्टी करते हैं. तो ये स्ट्रेस आउट नहीं करने का, बीच में पार्टी हार्ड है ना, वर्क हार्डर. तो उल्टा कर दिया मैंने अभी 1 मंथ के लिए, बाद में चेंज करेंगे इसको. आफ्टर कैट इट विल बी पार्टी हार्डर, ठीक है ना. तो आफ्टर कैट हम लोग मिलते हैं सब लोग एक साथ और पार्टी करते हैं. तब तक अच्छे से आप
This is the
प्रिपेयर
first
करिए.
time I guess whole iQuanta team is live. Yeah.
This whole iQuanta men.
Yeah.
Girls
men.
are at home today. So these guys are working hard daily.
Yeah.
24/7.
बोनस दे दीजिए.
एक
नहीं मिलता है.
Yeah. We should get a bonus as well.
वो डिपेंड करेगा बच्चों का. अगर फीडबैक अच्छा है
Please
तो
give
हम
us a good
करेंगे.
feedback in the comment
सारे
section.
बच्चों के लिए, टीचर्स के लिए इंक्लूडिंग मी, थोड़ा सा फीडबैक कभी होगा तो डाल सकते हैं. उसके बेसिस पे मैं अपना भी सैलरी बढ़ा दूंगा, इनका भी थोड़ा सा बढ़ जाएगा. ये गाइस, और कुछ क्वेश्चन है कुछ, या फिर खत्म करें इनके? ठीक है. आई थिंक दिस गाइस आर हंग्री, तो कुछ इनको खाने पीने का मौका देते हैं. These guys thirsty.
Okay.
Alright guys, thank you for joining.
Bye guys.
Have a good night.
Shall we cut?
Yeah.